Hello everyone, Quartsy here, and today we have a very special video. If you're new here, I'm an ADHD artist, streamer, and cosplayer on Twitch, and I love Pokemon, D&D, and Kingdom Hearts. We play a lot of cozy indie games on my Twitch channel, which I definitely am on more frequently than here on YouTube, but I'm hoping to change that very soon. Back in March, I had the absolute privilege of having my very first front page slot on Twitch. Thank you so much to the Twitch Women's Guild for offering this opportunity. I do not take it lightly. I'm so grateful for the chance to talk about not only my disability, but the disabilities and chronic illnesses of several other creators, all of whom I admire deeply. So please make sure to check them out after the panel and give them a follow and stay up to date on their journeys as well. Sit back and enjoy the panel and stay tuned for a very special message.
Wherever you go, I'm always with you.
Welcome in everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are doing a very special stream. We have some amazing panelists. I can't wait to bring them over in just a minute. We're here to talk about what it's like to be disabled women and femmes on Twitch, and we are doing this in collaboration with the Women's Guild. So thank you so much. Shout out to community specialists Holly and Uwe. They're absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be featured on the front page for Women's History Month, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with you all today. We will have questions at the end if you do want to ask any of the panelists any questions. All right, let's see if everybody is ready before I bring them on. I'm gonna have everybody introduce themselves, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating in women's history and learning and uplifting women on Twitch and in your lives. Okay. And here's a quick message before the video. For those of you who don't know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Lack of access to mental health tools and resources affects millions of individuals every single day. That's why I'm honored to be a streamer ambassador for To Write Love on Her Arms. To Write Love on Her Arms is a nonprofit founded in 2006 that has invested over $4.3 million into mental health treatment and recovery. In 2024, that looked like roughly over 4,000 hours of care, $258,000 in therapy gifted, and 281 lives impacted. Additionally, on their website, they have the Find Help tool for free, which connects you to mental health resources in your area. This Mental Health Awareness Month, I am fundraising for To Write Love on Her Arms because it's a cause that's very important to me. As a late diagnosed autistic and ADHDer who struggled with chronic depression, anxiety, and self-harm for years, To Write Love on Her Arms was an organization that personally helped me through a very dark time in my life. And now I want to give back to others who might need support as well. If you'd like to join me in supporting this cause, you can click the link below and it'll direct you to my personal Tiltify where I have a fundraiser and a goal set up. If you are struggling with lack of mental health resources, definitely check out their website. And now, back to the video. Welcome in, everyone.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for patiently waiting. I would love to have everyone introduce themselves. Just to start, hi, my name is Cosmic Quartz. You can call me Quartz or Quartsy. I use Fae pronouns. I am an autistic and ADHD demisexual streamer and artist and cosplayer. I love attending conventions. In fact, I just got back from PAX East. We can talk all about that at a different time. But I'm really excited to talk about all the different ways that being, autistic, being neurodivergent, I also have Lyme disease, all of the ways that those affect me. I have chronic eczema, asthma, etc. And I'm really excited to hear from all of these panelists because I feel like we all bring a very unique perspective to the table. So, Junie, would you like to tell us and tell chat a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Junie Bug. You can call me Junie or Noelle. I use she, her pronouns. I have been a Twitch streamer for nearly 7 years now. I'm very chat and community oriented, but I love to play a lot of games. I love the Final Fantasy series. I love Kingdom Hearts, and I love Nintendo games. If you like Final Fantasy VIII, we're gonna get along great. But I am autistic. I also have general and social anxiety disorder. But I'm really happy to meet you guys. I'm excited to have an awesome conversation today about this panel. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Junie. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Dish, for the volume shout out. I went ahead and fixed that. Hopefully that's a little better. And sweet, let's hear a little bit about your introduction. Thank you so much, Junie.
Thank you so much for having me, everyone. I'm Sweet Wild Thing, she, her pronouns. Since we're talking about disabilities, I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is a connective tissue disorder. I love gaming, but also co-working and crafting here on Twitch. And with my community, we strive to promote self-care, self-advocacy, and sharing kindness. So very, very important to us as we are enjoying each other's company and feeling like we're at home, but also advocating and supporting one another and our communities.
Thank you so much, Sweet. I think those are amazing things to advocate for, and I really appreciate you being here today with us. Thank you. C, how about you? Would you like to share a little bit about yourself with chat?
Yeah, first, it's an honor and privilege to be here with everybody. My name is C or C7. As I always say, I'm your friendly neighborhood artsy scientist. It's not a joke. I'm a scientist who streams for fun and hobby, who really enjoys doing co-working streams as well as stationary streams. I also do lace making on streams when I'm able to and want to do sewing in the future. And in regards to games, I play Final Fantasy, Monster Hunter, Sea of Stars, and other RPGs, and really games that are story driven and really about supporting the great power comes great social responsibility ethos that I try to champion in terms of things. In regards to this conversation today, I actually have an anxiety disorder as well as I'm a survivor of abuse and trauma. So having to speak from that perspective in terms of at the intersections that I live at every day, but just really grateful to have this wonderful conversation in space as I try to advocate for on my channel. Someone who's only been streaming for a few years, so I'm very new to this space, but really excited to be here with everybody. So yeah.
Thank you so much, C. I think you've done a lot of amazing, incredible things too. We love women in STEM. But yeah, so today, this panel, we're hoping to highlight the various experiences of fellow women guildies. All of us are in the Women's Guild, and we're basically going to be sharing about our disabilities, how they affect us as individuals and as creators. We're going to be talking about harmful stigmas, challenges that we may face, personal accommodations we make for ourselves within our own streams and communities, and any sort of career wins and brands that we think deserve shout outs for having accessibility features in the streamer and gaming space. So you've heard from our panelists who they are, a little bit of a background. I'm sure we'll dive more into each of our individual creators as we go along. But first, I'd like to open up with explaining spoon theory. So I'm curious if anybody here in chat has heard about spoon theory or what it is, but it is something that I use as a bit of a symbol in my own life and with my own stream community that I founded for Disability Pride Month. The theory and the understanding of having limited number of spoons. This is something that affects a lot of disabled folk. It's a metaphor created by Christine Miserandino, a blogger living with lupus, and it's basically used to explain what it's like to live with limited energy. She uses spoons to represent units of energy. Every task, big or small, costs a spoon. Getting out of bed might cost 1 spoon. Taking a shower could cost a few more, but before the day is over, you might already have spent all your spoons. So a lot of disabled creators use this in our own lives to kind of explain what it's like to have limited energy, since those who don't have chronic illness might not understand. What are some ways that various disabilities and illnesses can present differently for each individual? C, did you want to touch upon that?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think following up on spoon theory, which I do appreciate that ethos and that metaphor because it's really helpful for folks to visually understand that I think it's really important for folks to recognize the importance of how different abilities and different illnesses like show up for all of us. So I can speak to my own personal experience as someone who is, I am a Black person, specifically based in Creek Muskogee land, or otherwise known as modern day the South. where my anxiety presents itself differently from folks at different positionalities or different race and ethnicities or different parts of the world, as well as even the way I express or move throughout the world is going to be different from other Black people who identify who also have anxiety disorders. So I think it's really important when we talk about spoon theory that sometimes someone's anxiety could be that maybe they're not necessarily comfortable in big settings. So maybe they have anxiety that manifests more as a socialized kind of phenomenon where big crowds can be really uncomfortable versus I know I can speak for me in terms of my own lived experiences. My anxiety sometimes manifests as me overthinking and kind of getting stuck and needing my loved ones and family to help me navigate out of the space of being stuck thinking about a problem or an issue. So I think metaphors like spoon theory are really important. And when we talk about disability and different types of conditions, it's just really important to remember that they look different and might be different in terms of what folks need energy wise and how their day to day or even their hour to hour is going to operate when it comes to figuring out and discussing these things in real conversations and with people we love dearly. So, yeah.
Oh no, I was muted. No. Okay. I muted on Discord and I tapped my mic. That's never happening again. Okay, I was too prepared. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you so much, C, for covering that topic. That's embarrassing because I was muted for 2 minutes. Thank
No
you
worries.
so much for talking about those important differences because just to quickly summarize, essentially that's what leads to people getting late diagnosed or maybe even missed getting diagnosis because medical professionals are only looking at disabilities and chronic illnesses from one angle and one lens. Thank you so much, C. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, and maybe Junie, if you would be able to dive a little deeper, combating common stigmas that disabled women may face. And you're welcome to talk about this from an industry specific lens or as a whole in society, however you feel most comfy.
Yeah, for sure. I can speak from my perspective as an autistic woman. I feel like autistic women, especially, we tend to be very misunderstood or that it's not obvious that we have autism. It feels like we're a little bit underdiagnosed compared to men, and it's also a spectrum, so it presents differently depending on the person. But I think maybe people expect women to present a certain way, or if we have hyperfixations, sometimes it's only seen like we're fangirling or a special interest can align with typically feminine things such as celebrities, fashion, or anything of the sort. So people just see it as like we're just being women, you know, or if we're having meltdowns or we're having a sensory overload or we're just seen as we're being sensitive because that is what women do. But I think that prevents us from getting a lot of the resources, accommodations, and support that we need. And I've also been noticing generally online, I've been seeing people that are like kind of fetishizing autistic women, like, and that can make it really uncomfortable because we want to just be seen as people. This is not a quirky or trendy
The manic
personality
pixie dream
trait.
girl.
Like, I have a lot of pride being autistic, but it's also something that really does deeply affect us and can hinder us in daily lives, social interactions, and things of that sort. So that is my experience as an autistic woman. And yeah.
Yeah, it's like that whole manic pixie dream girl, narrative that you see in a lot of media where people are like falling in love with these characters because they seem very fun and chaotic at first, but then the more they get to know them, they're like, oh, you actually are very multifaceted and there's more to you than just the fantasy of you that I built around in my head, right? And then once that becomes real, they don't enjoy it as much. So that's why I don't necessarily like those representations in media either. Let's talk personal journeys. Were you diagnosed as a child, as an adult, or are you still discovering? I know that we talked a little bit briefly about how medical neglect can cause delays, but there's a lot of reasons why people might have delays in diagnosis. So does Sweet, would you like to share a little bit more about your journey?
Yes, thank you so much. I think a lot of people can relate to my story, simply because although it sounds unique, I feel like a lot of people have walked similar journeys in that I was really, really sickly as a child, diagnosed with one thing. I'm getting older in my life. I'm in my mid 20s, and things are not stacking up, right? Things are not falling in line with what that condition and syndrome should be. And I was experiencing this chapter of my life where, one, I wanted to take care of myself and I'm trying to seek out medical advice, but also having to learn to advocate for myself because I had a really good doctor to start who was listening to me, and I wanted to work on this or that because at the time I didn't know that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, with EDS being a connective tissue disorder, lack of glue to hold everything together in your body. You're going to have other symptoms and conditions. That doctor moved, and I had a new doctor who did not want to listen to me and what I was listening to my body. So I did eventually get to other chapters in my medical diagnosis journey of finally receiving Ehlers-Danlos syndrome through genetic testing and other tests to confirm. And it was really wonderful to finally get that diagnosis after years of fighting to just be seen and heard, because it meant, although no solution, no cure, of course, but it meant answers. It meant new pathways of health and healing and, self-maintenance. So, as a growing adult who is now kind of getting to relive her childhood where I didn't have a childhood, um, it's very interesting because it opens up the doors on what's possible as far as like what you can and can't pursue. And you also are mindful of the spoon theory. You start off your days with X amount of spoons, you have to spend them wisely. And that's part of the journey too, is you can help discover what's going on inside yourself by listening to yourself, advocating for yourself, but also reserving some spoons for yourself. So, yeah, I was misdiagnosed, finally got a right diagnosis as an adult. And here today, we try to speak about our conditions so we can help uplift our communities and platforms so we can raise more awareness for them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sweet. I know, I'm sure a lot of us have similar, like experiences of being either late diagnosed with certain illnesses, or even still, like, even when you think you have all of the answers, sometimes, like, other pain pops up and then you're like, oh wait, just kidding, I don't have it all figured out. And I think it's really common too to have a lot of comorbidities. Do you think that it is really common for folks who are disabled to be either late diagnosed, especially women in the industry or in general, and especially multi-marginalized women as well? It is important to do that self-advocacy that you were talking about, because sometimes it's not going to be the first test. I know a lot of these invisible illness diagnoses, a lot of the testing is like a process of elimination, right? So it could take years to get diagnosed, even when you have somebody listening. I would like to talk a little bit more about how being disabled affects us as creators. So does I know you just spoke, Sweet, but if you would like to share a little more, does being disabled influence the way that you approach content creation? And would you like to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of just hitches right off of that spoon theory, with just being mindful. Each day is going to probably be different with how many spoons you do start off with. So with that in mind, I schedule my streaming around the time frames I know I'm going to have energy, which is not the afternoon, which is not the evening, the end of my day, whether I work that day or not, whether, I did a whole bunch of stuff that day or not. By that point, I will have spent probably a little too many spoons to hop on and click that button. So, but also scheduling around my job, which there's two elements already added to what I'm setting my stream schedule up to. But by not streaming on days that I'm working and I'm just focused on work that day, and then the next day maybe I get to stream, I'm going into that stream day feeling like, yeah, I don't have to worry about work, I don't have to rush stream or getting to work. So that can really help with maybe not fully avoiding burnout, but definitely help curb it, lessen it. And as someone who really started experiencing burnout at the end of last year, I'm so aware of it now. Um, and so with that in mind, it's just I really have to focus, and we have here we have friends in Quartsy's chat that will absolutely understand when I say that I have to learn. I'm starting to acknowledge that I have this little thing going. It's not an issue, it's a matter, but I have to learn to not overextend myself, not to do all the projects, not to always do the networking. I have to
Learn
just
to
sit
say
back.
no
It's
sometimes.
so tough. I
It
actually took a workshop
it's
on
so
how to
hard.
say no. It was legit. That was the name of the workshop back in my earlier 20s when I was attending all these AmeriCorps conferences and stuff. But yeah, you take a workshop, a professional developmental workshop that teaches you how to say no, and it's so tough. And I think a lot of friends here can totally relate to that, because whether
Mhm.
they be friends, opportunities, pathways to these grand, amazing new chapters that we can reach to, and just learning not to not to overextend ourselves, and then we'll find that balance between the leisure time and our hobbies and our families and ourselves. So those are some of the things that I work on personally, kind
Mhm.
of what I've been working on and focus on the last half year.
That's awesome. I could definitely stand to work on those things more too, especially the saying no and balancing time for ourselves first. I would love to know if there's any methods of accommodating yourself and your disabilities that you've implemented in your life or in your streams. I would love to hear more about that. C, if you would like to share.
Yeah, thanks for the chance to answer this question. And
Yeah.
definitely resonate with Sweet about learning how to say no, because I know in my 30s, I'm in my early 30s. That was a lesson I think was really valuable for me, and has continued to be valuable, since I think sometimes it's important to have boundaries on what we can and can't do, and also learn how to be like, hey, I don't have capacity for this right now, so gonna ask like some like friends or community if they can take this on, and I will join in at another time if I can, if I have the capacity. But I think some of the techniques that have helped along with that too is I am somebody who meditates. I've been getting back into the practice of meditating in the mornings and in the evenings, if not once a day, because it just helps me kind of clear my mind and kind of stay focused on what I need to do, and to learn how to prioritize and not make myself feel bad for like things I don't get accomplished in a day if something happens or stuff's going on in my life. I also think like breaking down tasks really helps me, because sometimes I can get overwhelmed with the amount of things I do, because I know sometimes folks will be like, well, you do all these things and you're always, going and moving and grooving. And I'm like, yeah, but it's also with the ethos of making sure that I rest and prioritize rest and self care, because it is really easy when you're having fun and like doing a lot and being everywhere in spaces, virtual or safely in person, that it can be hard on your body, as well as like, not giving yourself the space for your mind to kind of like unpack and process. Because I'm a big reflector. I love journaling, as I mentioned, with stationery. So it's really just that meditation, really breaking things down into smaller pieces over time, and journaling and writing for me that really helps. As well as when I get really, really stressed out, I usually listen to music. That's why I'm learning how to DJ later this year. But music really like
So
centers me,
cool.
as well as like weightlifting. Really check in with myself all the time, and just really like use these techniques to keep myself going, so I can sustain myself for the long term instead of like again burning out. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important to pace ourselves, right? It's a marathon, not a race. I know it can be like so easy to get FOMO if you ever do have to say no to opportunities, but taking time to slow down, that's what's going to actually allow your body to truly heal, right? Like slowing down, allowing it to recharge and regulate again. So thank you so much for sharing those ways that you accommodate yourself. I think as a delayed processor myself, writing is also very helpful because sometimes I don't realize things in the moment until I either like verbalize it or write it down. I'd love to know, Junie, does your community also include disabled folk? And if it does it help you feel more comfortable being your authentic self and unmasking?
Yeah, it's funny because 6 of the 7 years I've been on Twitch, I didn't know I was autistic, but I seem to attract a lot of neurodivergent um and just all kinds of people, queer people as well. I am queer. And I feel like you tend to attract what you put out into the world. So I always felt like I wanted to create a community I didn't have to be afraid to be myself in front of. So I think that it really is the best approach to just be who you want to be, because that's how you find allies, that's how you find other people, and you do open yourself up to a lot of criticism or negativity, but you also find a lot of really good people that care about you. And I think one of the most empowering things for me has been being really honest about my life as an autistic woman, as an anxious woman, and hearing people just say they feel validated by me speaking about these things that might not be so easy to talk about. And I made I uploaded a clip recently talking about how my autism and my anxiety affects me. Like, sometimes it prevents me from doing these cool opportunities, and it's hard because I'm a people pleaser too. It's hard for me to say no sometimes, and I've been learning that too. But I had so many positive comments that said, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you're just a little bit different, and that's okay too. So I think now that I am autistic, it does help me set boundaries with myself and my community, and they're very understanding about it. And I think that's the best feeling ever. So I'm very thankful to have the community I have. So I'm a big fan of just be yourself, be honest, and you will attract the good energy that you give out into the world.
Yes, the right community will gravitate toward you. I agree 100%. Preach. I think the more authentic, the more you learn to unmask yourselves, the more therapeutic it can be too, because it can allow us to release that like internalized shame cycle. Because I don't know about you all, but I know growing up when I didn't know that my brain worked differently and my body worked differently from other people, and I was just gaslit into believing like, no, you're too young to have problems, or you get good grades in school, so you're smart, or like, just all of these internalized stigmas that other people held about these disabilities and illnesses. It kind of just led to a lot of internalized shame. Well, I'm clearly not good enough because everybody says I should be able to accomplish ABC and XYZ, but I can only do ABC, and sometimes I forget the BC, So it allows you, when you finally surround yourselves with people who understand and get it and have had similar experiences, it allows you to kind of heal, I think, and accept yourself more through having that community understanding. And that's why I agree, community is so important. So if we had any advice, I guess this one I will answer, for newly discovered disabled creators or individuals in general, and how to unmask and embrace your authentic self, I think the first step would be to surround yourself with community who accepts you and allows you to be silly, goofy, and allows you to stim, allows you to unmask, allows you to express info dump about your special interests, and just explore what makes you happy. And I think that is a very big first step. I think giving yourself grace, a lot of the time, if you're either late diagnosed or if you're disabled later in life, it could be tough to remember what you used to be able to do, pre-disability or pre-knowing, and learning to accept that you might not be able to do everything 100% of the time too, because also your spoon levels are going to fluctuate from day to day, and your 100% could look different one day to the next. So I think that there's a lot of grace that we have to wind up giving ourselves, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of patience, and especially when we don't have that support around us, because that's something I kind of face in my IRL life. That's why online community is so important to me. I don't really have a strong support network about understanding my disabilities in real life. So sometimes you can really gaslight yourself into maybe not like thinking you're faking it, or thinking that you're maybe not disabled enough, quote unquote, especially if you have primarily invisible disabilities. So I do think that it is really important to take things one step at a time, and try not to be ashamed of the journey as you unmask and learn more about your authentic selves, and surround yourself with people who make you feel great, not bad, for doing so. So for this next section, I would love to move. We're just about halfway through the panel now, actually, which is great timing. We'll have some questions at the end. But for this next section, I would love to cover intersectionality and nuance. Disability looks different for everybody, but even more so for those who may be multiple marginalized. So I would love for C, if you would like to share with us a little bit about recognizing obstacles that those with intersectional identities may face, and potential barriers to diagnosis. I would love to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah, I definitely can speak to this. So I know some folks might be familiar with the term intersectionality, but for those who aren't familiar with it, I think a lot of people are aware of it in popular lexicon from Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, who's known for introducing the concept of what it is, essentially of talking about how, as we've touched on briefly through what everyone has shared here, but also just what I mentioned too about the intersection or social positionality of where people exist. And what I mean by that is that people have different identities in terms of race and ethnicity, gender, identity, sexuality, where you're even from, where you're born. And these different types of identities not only express themselves in the sense of who we determine who we are in terms of our civil and human rights, but also just how the world sometimes responds to who we are as people, whether or not those things can be good or bad or everything in between. And so with this type of question, which I think is really important to recognize, it's that like we're all sharing in our lived experiences, everyone's understanding and coming into their identity of who they are, particularly when it comes to disability, is very different. And also people face different complications and issues and challenges navigating the world around them because of their disabilities or their intersections. So for example, for me, I'm a Black person, and like I mentioned before, Blackness is not a monolith. So every Black woman has a different experience when it comes to disability, when it comes to their Blackness, when it comes to their femininity, whatever that looks like in terms of the fluidity of gender, sexuality, and our identities, and learning about ourselves. But that also means there's barriers when it comes to, as we've touched on, like folks understanding if they have a disability, or understanding what Blackness or femininity means to them in terms of not only their individual experiences, but also how to interact with other people in terms of their communities, but also the systems and structures, institutions that they will engage with, and those institutions also engaging with them too. So I think when it comes to this conversation, it's not very black and white. It's often very complicated, and it's to me, a lifelong journey of understanding how different intersections of our identity impact us. It impacts how we move and the decisions that we make, but it also empowers us to really be able to create the spaces, as you can hear from myself, Junie, Quartsy, and Sweet, about how we have come into our own and our different experiences that empower us, but also create spaces for folks to be able to figure out and maybe sort out who they are as a person too in the life course. So I think it's a really important topic. And as somebody who studied it, I still study it to this day. I think it's really important to recognize when it comes to disability that everybody comes at it from a different space. We all have unlearning and unpacking to do when it comes to our identities, particularly because ableism and accessibility is often a conversation and really important to keep championing for. But I also think too that these things change over time, and we should feel really thoughtful when it comes to how folks who have disabilities are represented, but also how sometimes these conversations can lead to where there might be representation, but there needs to be more accessibility, for example. So more people who live at different intersections, particularly at multiple marginalized positions can exist and be themselves without having to worry about like what the world is trying to do or any other nuances with that too. So I hope that answers the question and gives some flavor to it for those who have seen the term but might necessarily have engaged with it or been in these types of conversations before.
See, that was just incredibly well and beautifully said. Like, I thank you so much for summarizing that. And yeah, it's true that some people with different intersectional perspectives might not even feel safe and might not be safe to fully unmask currently. And I think it is important to be aware of that and to just provide spaces however we can as individuals to allow those folks to be their authentic selves in a safe space. I'd like to talk a little bit about ways the gaming industry has failed to properly represent us and times it accurately does so. So I think this kind of ties a little bit into the last question a bit. When you have characters that you want to represent as disabled in video games or in media, a lot of the times what winds up happening is those characters become their disability, or their disability becomes that entire character's persona. And I think that that's harmful, because us as disabled creators, like, we are so much more than our disabilities. We have aspirations, passions, wins, obstacles, challenges, struggles that have nothing to do with our disability. So to create us as a character, if you want representation in your game or media, I think it absolutely needs to be with consultation from actually disabled individuals, and or representation from actually disabled individuals. Otherwise, you're going to wind up getting a very flat character that is not accurately reflective of what it's like to have that lived experience. So I think a lot of the times when a game developer wants to just have a disabled character, they need to be willing to do the research into what it looks like to live with that disability for it to be an effectively implemented. I think a recent example that I can think of is, I know in Date Everything, there was a character who was in the wheelchair. I can't remember their name. Was it Trace? If anybody wants to jump in and confirm who's played Date Everything.
I'm playing it, but I haven't gotten that.
Or is it
far,
Mac?
so.
It's Mac. Okay, I'm so sorry.
There we
It
go.
just came to me. Thank you, sweet. Yeah, so they had a character, Mac, who is an ambulatory wheelchair user. And when they first released the character, people were very excited about it. But a couple folks who are wheelchair users themselves mentioned that the way that the chair was designed wasn't actually representative of what it would be like to live in and have to use a wheelchair. So they offered some adjustments and some recommendations, and the development design team wound up making those changes and implementing them and kind of releasing a patch with the updated design for the main game. So I think that's a situation where a game wanted to do the right thing and wanted to represent accurately, but kind of missed the mark, but was receptive to that community support and helping them, make a more accurate representation. So consulting, play testing with individuals who are disabled, especially if you're wanting to have your game be accessible for disabled individuals, using contrast between text, using readable fonts, things like that. If you do have a story with a lot of narrative text, sometimes it could be helpful to have voice acting for some of that, to have that auditory and visual element. So I think those are some ways, having more disabled and multiple marginalized BIPOC writers and developers on the development team as well. That way we can get more accurate representation in those aspects as well. Just having them as characters in the games and also as developers on the team. Next question, explain a situation where you may have had to navigate conflict resolution or set boundaries in regards to your disability or illness on stream. Junie, would you like to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, I would love to. As I
you.
mentioned, I've been here for 7 years, so I've seen it all. I've seen a lot, and definitely in the beginning, it was a lot harder for me to say no. I would say probably one of the things I deal with the most is backseat gaming. I feel like I get it a lot, especially as a woman, even though I'm like, I've been playing games like forever, but it can be hard because, again, I have people pleasing tendencies and I do have delayed reactions. So, I do ask my moderators for help a lot on that end. And I try, I use safe words on my stream. I have like a command and everything to let people know because, like, maybe I'll ask a rhetorical question, but sometimes people will just ask or kind of do it in a demeaning way. I also am not a fan of playful bullying on Twitch because I am autistic and I can't tell if people are actually trying to be mean to me versus joking. So I just say, like, please, like, if it makes me uncomfortable, I will say it. And sometimes people get a little bit snarky with me, like, you're being sensitive, it's just a joke. But I'm like, I can't tell, especially in text-based format. So I do have to do that a lot. And I think I also have to deal with parasocial behavior from time to time. And, I don't think it's always like people that mean any harm by it. So every situation is different. Sometimes I do have to DM people to set boundaries and just be clear because I understand a lot of us are neurodivergent, and or I'll make a general announcement because the last thing I want to do, I need to be honest, but I don't want people to feel embarrassed or like self-conscious or like that they feel uncomfortable. I don't, it doesn't bring me joy or pleasure to make people feel bad about themselves, especially when they really don't mean harm. So every situation you go through is a little bit different. So just learn, every experience you get, maybe you think, I wish I handled that better. Maybe I should have had a little more patience and kindness. Maybe I should have been a little bit more firm and stronger. You kind of learn this as you go along. And I still feel like I'm frankly learning, but definitely it's important to set your boundaries, be respectful, because everybody that comes in your Twitch chat is a person too. They're trying to figure it out, but don't be afraid to also ban people that are making you uncomfortable, especially repeatedly. That's really important, especially as an autistic person.
Yeah, Junie, thank you so much for talking about that. And I myself have definitely struggled with like wanting to actually like utilize the ban in some situations where like you want to give people a lot of chances and stuff, but sometimes it's just healthier to set that boundary. And I think that's really important, especially as like a recovering people pleaser, somebody who's experienced like a lot of trauma. And obviously we want to create welcoming spaces for all of our communities. But I think the most important thing at the end of the day is that we're comfy as individuals. And I sometimes forget that. Rejection sensitivity affects a lot of us, but it can also affect us a lot differently as creators. So I was wondering if you wanted to touch upon that at all, like how do you handle if any opportunities that you apply to for don't pan out, or if you're not achieving things on the timeline that you like expect for yourself? How do you approach those situations?
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to be perfectly honest and a little specific, just as like an example, and mention that like as streamers, as streamers, we all know about the Twitch Women's Guild, right? And my first year streaming, I really just kind of just did the gaming thing. I didn't necessarily like do the joining thing. And so when that started shifting was right about when I was doing like charity work and all of that. And I was like, oh, Twitch Women's, that would be so awesome. Maybe one day. And all that, long story short, because it took a year, I think, for me to get accepted. 3 applications sent. And I told myself the third time that would be it. Because the RSD was strong, right? Because 2 years ago I knew of them, didn't, whatever. But then here I am at this point where I wanted in, right? I wanted more friends. I wanted to learn of more opportunities, but I thought it'd be great for my community as well. And I'm the type of person where if I see an opportunity that might work for others, I'm gonna try and inform friends. Like I'm always sending out DMs and I'm always trying to like get friends in the door of opportunities. And so of course I sent out, application links when the door opened for Twitch Women Guild to friends, and there I am watching. It was like 4 friends get accepted and not me. It's
Oh,
just like,
oh
so when
my
I got to that third
gosh.
time, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is it. This is it. I can't put myself through this, you know?
Again,
And
yeah.
all that to say, friends, once I was in, which was a shock, because I'll be honest, I was like, oh, it's personal. Oh, maybe I just don't have what they have. You know, I started thinking these negative self-thoughts that I was projecting onto people I hadn't met yet. And I didn't feel good about that. And I bring that up to be honest and transparent because once I was in the door, oh my gosh, did my eyes open to seeing how busy the very few leaders who are so passionate and so devoted to the Twitch Women's Guild. There's, you know, just a few people at the helm organizing hundreds of us, right? And it just opened up my eyes to it's not personal. It's not rejecting me because I don't have whatever it is I think that they're looking for. It's none of that. It was matter of time. It was, you know, just going down the wait list, right? And all of that. And another thing I didn't think about was I don't know how many times my friends applied, right? You know, that might have not been the first time that they applied, right? And so I just try to recommend to friends to think of how busy other people might be. It's so hard to forget that there's a lot that people aren't telling us just because they're running around and
Mm-hmm.
trying to manage everything on their plate. And so it's easy to forget that people are not purposefully excluding us, they're not gatekeeping us. So just try to keep that at the forefront, not the back of the burner. You know, try to swap out those modes of mentality, the negative self-talk and the okay, let's be mindful of what could be going on that I just don't know. Just swap those. Just swap those and you're going to find so much peace and balance and you'll be okay. And then when that day does happen, whether it be a guild, whether it be an opportunity for your community, whether it be some type of brand ambassadorship opportunity, once you do get it, you're gonna feel so good for having gotten there. And in the meantime, you're gonna be doing other work, you're gonna learn other amazing things, you'll meet new wonderful people. So just maintain your expectations while also looking for other opportunities along the way while recognizing what you do have here in front of you. So, I think the last thing I could honestly say is we all have it. You are not alone. We all experience the rejection sensitivity. Some of us are just really good at hiding it, okay? So just be honest with yourself, be honest with your community, be transparent, be realistic, have set goals and expectations, and you will get it. You will get it. So I hope that helps.
Oh, that was
But yeah, don't
beautifully
give up. Don't give up.
said. Yeah, sweet. No, that was amazing. And thank you so much for sharing the really like real feelings that come along with that rejection sensitivity, because it's not all positive, and sometimes like some feelings that we're not proud of but are so normal to have do surface, like maybe feeling a little jealous or a little, but obviously like we're very happy for our peers, but like just being like, when is it going to be my turn, right? And I totally understand, and I was there also with that whole journey. I think for me it was like a year and a half before I got approved in the guilds, but like you said, there's only so many people at the helm running the show there, and it's just about when it was meant to be. And I think it's great to focus on other opportunities and building community in the meantime, because we all deserve a seat at the table. We absolutely do. It's just a matter of time. So moving into our final section, since we're closing things out, and it looks like I don't want to cut things short, so if anybody does want to stick around after 5 p.m., that's when our front page slot will end, but maybe we could do questions then if anyone has them, just so we have this last section to really dive in. So learning to recognize burnout approaching, how do you stay motivated and refill your cup? I think this kind of has to do with some other things that you were touching upon too, Sweet.
I think I think honestly is when you are noticing less and less sleep, right? Even if you go to bed at the same time and you wake up at the same time, are you getting the same amount of good sleep, quality sleep? So there's that. Noticing a change in your appetite or even just lack of interest in eating, change in food, if you're just kind of like eating on the fly and you're just, eating out of convenience. I'm calling myself out. I'm not blaming any of you, not saying any of you do it, but definitely I do it.
Not coming fresh,
That's
you
a
should.
big signal. Yeah. It's a big signal that either you are in burnout or it's right around the corner. And food is sustenance, so don't treat it like it's just this second fly of the wing thing. Food is sustenance just like water. So changes in your attention span, you are doing all the stuff, but you're doing it quicker, or maybe you don't remember doing it, right? So your attention span is kind of changing. Recognizing increased medical symptoms. So here we are talking about disabilities and chronic illnesses, and some of us, hopefully at this point, whatever age we are, hopefully we've had X amount of time to listen to ourselves and kind of work with our bodies. Notice your flare ups, notice your symptoms. What I can say is you don't notice them when you're doing well, right? So if you do start to notice those symptoms increase, your conditions are like, yeah, let's all have a party. You might be experiencing a little bit of burnout. But then I guess the last piece is this is like the red flag. You're in burnout, all right? If you're not interested in your hobbies. And some of us, gaming, art, we've turned that into some type of maybe job, career, maybe it's a blend of what we're doing currently. If you're losing interest in your hobbies, you're burning out. You're in burnout, and it's time to just kind of take a moment, if that involves stepping back or just standing there, either or, but just taking a moment and being like, okay, what do I need to do to work this out and work through burnout? And more sleep, get back on, having your normal food routine, hopefully, if you can. And then take your medicine. We're forgetting to eat, we're forgetting to sleep, we're forgetting our water and our medicine. So all of that, those are some signals for burnout, and hopefully little tidbits on how to avoid it, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you so much, sweet. And I know sometimes it's inevitable, but I think those are great signals to have. We are kind of running towards the end, so I want to cover a couple questions a little quicker. Do you have any specific tools or tech that you've implemented to help regulate during overstimulating situations, either on or off stream? See?
I can just answer this quickly since I've touched
Sure.
on some of the things I implement.
Yeah,
Both
earlier, the meditation.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I just recommend, which folks, just as advice, is like make your rules conducive for you to be able to stream and enjoy what you do. I think that's just really a big one for all streamers, no matter your size.
Mm-hmm.
And just take breaks. If you need to step away, step away. You have the right to end your stream or to tell someone to leave your community, and have those rules to keep yourself and everybody else in your spaces safe. So that I definitely would just agree. That's just a great rule to have, so folks don't get flustered. And when things get overwhelming, having great mods who can support you too, friends or community who do look out for you, who know those rules too, is really important. So just want to share that really fast.
Absolutely. Thank you, C. You're so real for that. Because that's so true. What games or media accurately portrays invisible disabilities well, Junie? I know you had something that you wanted to share about this one.
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. I don't make content around League of Legends, but it is one of my favorite games to play in my free time. And there is an autistic character named Aurora. She's a bunny witch, and she was written by autistic writers and portrayed by an autistic voice actor. And I was actually very fortunate to have the opportunity to interview her voice actress, which is Emery Chase. And like the voice lines are so perfect. Some of them are spending time with others is exhausting. If I seem curt, don't take it personally. My work is at a critical juncture, so this interruption is not ideal. She's kind of the character that made me think, oh, I might be autistic actually. But it was really sweet because after the interview, Emery offered an autographed print and wrote a quote on it that says, the splendid world is my own and it's beautiful. And they wrote in a letter to me that it's how they perceive the autistic experience, that we blend our inner worlds with the outer world around us. And it makes me like so teary-eyed when I think about it, because it's just such a beautiful way to express the autistic experience, because we do have these complex inner worlds. So I'm always very thankful for that experience.
Oh, Junie, that's so cool that you had that opportunity. That's so amazing. And I really love that they actually have not only the autistic character in the game, but an actual autistic VA voicing her. I think that just is so beautiful and amazing, and more of that, please.
Yeah, and the voice actor too. Sorry, I forgot to mention the voice actor did tell me that they got to stim in the booth as well, like bring stim toys, and they were swaying a lot. So they said it was very they were very accommodating, because everybody in that booth was autistic. So like they understood.
They get it. They get it. That's amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And I definitely think that was a bit of a win. But if any of us, and I'll go first, but if any of us would like to, as like a final question, talk about some industry wins that we've had, some disability joy that we've had as creators, I would love to hear about it. Or if you'd like to amplify any brands you think are doing great for the disability community, or uploading disabled women's voices. I will say, I did have a chance this weekend to finally speak with and meet Jenny from Wholesome Games, and she's absolutely incredible and such an amazing person. And I just know that Wholesome Games and the Wholesome Direct does so much for women developers and small indie developers, BIPOC developers. And if you're not familiar, please check out Wholesome Games. They're amazing. There's so many great games that I've played that have become community favorites thanks to them. So yeah, shout out to Jenny for doing that. Anybody else want to share? Because I know we all have something that we could say here.
I can share really quick. Last year, I got my foot in the door with Square Enix, and I'm really fortunate for the opportunities. I've been invited to, the pop-up shop in LA for Square Enix, and then when I went to PAX West, I was invited to demo Final Fantasy Tactics, which was something I never thought I would be able to do, like demo a game for a company that I makes a lot of my favorite games and that I make content for. And I even got to go to Final Fantasy VII Seventh Heaven collaboration bar in LA too as an invite, which was such an amazing experience, and it's allowed me to make so many amazing connections. And guys, you don't have to be like a super big superstar streamer. Like if you are just genuine and authentic, like you can make these connections, and it doesn't have to feel transactional. Because I think a lot of us, especially neurodivergent folks, we feel like we don't want to make transactional connections. We want to actually, like connect with the people that we're working with and show that we genuinely care. So don't let your size stop you. Don't, just be yourself, and you will be noticed by the right people.
I think that perseverance is really important. I've applied to a couple things a few times, and I didn't get approved for it the first couple times, but I stuck with it, and then I finally got it like the third time. So I think that it's important to believe in yourself, especially despite, setbacks, or if it's not your time, because it will be one day, So I think that's so cool you were able to do that, Junie. Oh, that's so awesome. And I know that you love Square Enix so much, so what a cool opportunity to get a chance to go to some events that they hosted. Either Sweet or C, do you have anything that you would like to share as well for this question?
You go, C. You go. I insist.
No worries. I guess since I live at the intersection of like tech science and art, I think one thing that I don't know if it counts as it would fit, but I'll put it here, where in terms of disability advocacy, I just think it's one of the coolest experiences I've had, where I've actually been to the UN. I've got to attend virtual events and help plan side events for different topics. And it was really cool to be able to champion for accessibility at that level, not only for like folks who have long COVID or impacted by COVID, in regards to things with other disabilities as well too, and be able to really put some recommendations forward to be able to make those spaces more conducive for folks all over the world to be able to do that type of work. So it's something I really like take with me in terms of these experiences because I'm so new as a streamer, but just being able to have opportunities to bring those perspectives in the spaces I've been able to, whether it's like playing games or getting keys, I think that's just been really cool for me to see how my worlds have collided a lot. So I did want to share that and everything too in terms of today's conversation. So yeah.
That's wild. So cool. Well, first of all, that's amazing that you were able to create such impact, and I think that is really cool to see that like that crossover, right?
Yeah.
That's so
For
cool.
sure.
Okay, sweet. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you. I feel like I've rambled so much.
Please,
I
more,
say
please.
because I say we because like everything I do involves my community. So we achieved the big purple partner badge in November, and that's really thanks to everyone in my community, but also all the surrounding communities, because anyone who ever pursues that path knows you can't do it alone. It's impossible. So thereafter, another big win was creating stream teams and really just making a group that we had already started, fundraised and hosted raid trains for 3 separate charities, just making our group officially a stream team for Wear Your Stripes. So that was a big win because we've already, been doing the thing, and it's just nice to have, an official little title. And we'll be a year old in May, where we fundraise for Ehlers-Danlos Society a second time, which is really, really exciting. And then I guess another big industry win, maybe more of a personal win, is when I used to have like a different professional background in education and psychology. I used to do seminars and panels and workshops. I'm finding myself in the last half year getting back into that through my Twitch platform. And it's awesome. It's amazing. I love it. I just thrive in this kind of world. So to continue, nonprofit work, advocacy work, amplifying our voices, that's a big win. I'm really happy to be here. And thank you all for, helping myself and others work in this field and pursue the paths that we want to reach. So thank you.
Absolutely. That is a huge win between the partner badge, getting those stream teams, and managing one, let alone 2. Like, that's amazing. That's awesome work that you do, especially with the charities and fundraisers that you do with Wear Your Stripes. So congratulations on that, and happy early 1 year to that, because that's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing and advocating, like each and every one of you. Thank you for advocating in the ways that you do, because it's all so important, and it's all allowing other people to, learn more about themselves too in turn, and create more seats at the table for us all. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to have time for questions now. So if anyone has any questions, I think one last thing that I would like to say is thank you so much to the Twitch Women's Guild for allowing us to have this front page slot. Happy Women's History Month, and also happy International Trans Day of Visibility as well. You are here, you are valid, and I'm so grateful that you exist. And also, Twitch Disability Guild, when? Please. We are sharing so much. There it is. I was
Love
like,
that.
we can't forget it. We really would love to have one day. We've gotten so much from all of the guilds that we are a part of, and I just think that having a dedicated space for disabled creators and streamers, it would be so deserved, so needed, so appreciated, as it's many of our sole communities and support systems online. So I think that we would get a lot out of it. But yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything that they would like to say, would y'all like to wrap up with any last statements while we gather some questions for the end?
Oh, I see a question that just popped up.
Sure. Oh, is it this Gothic Lolita?
Angel? Yeah.
Sure. Do you want to read it?
Sure. Hi, Angel. I've seen Angel around in my community. How do you know if you are autistic? I am currently trying to self-diagnose and find out from past conversations with family saying that I am. I had to take an IEP and things like that for speech issues as a child. Finally, as well as knowing if you are masking. Ooh, I am self-diagnosed, and Quartsy actually was very supportive of helping me figure out I was autistic because, let's be real, getting official diagnosis is really expensive in the current political climate. It's a little bit scary, to be quite honest, like the stigmas against us and all that stuff. But I think it's a very personal thing, like, of course, you're doing your own research and and I felt for me, I had a lot of imposter syndrome of like, am I really autistic or am I just like taking it from TikTok, and it's definitely not that. So definitely, yeah, talking with, trusted loved ones, family members, doing online research and meeting fellow autistic people can be very helpful in that discovery journey. And as well as masking, I don't know how other people feel, but I feel really tired and just like on edge when I mask. Like I feel like I'm an alien pretending to fit in with Earthling society sometimes. So I feel like, oh, I am trying to appear normal. Like, okay, I'm not going to stim. I'm going to make direct eye contact. And then, oh, like, was I listening? Am I looking like I'm listening? It's like sometimes you think so much about your social interactions that you're like, oh, I was masking and I forgot to listen to what the person was saying.
100%.
And it's really tiring.
And then you're like, oh gosh, now I have to fake an answer that based on context clues for the little bits and pieces I remember. Yeah, I think that's great. Like you said, surrounding yourself with community, listening to like shared experiences. Sometimes it's just a matter of not having like the language and tools to describe. Like, I had no idea what time blindness was. I had no idea what like having a meltdown was, or being overstimulated, or having emotional dysregulation. I didn't know what any of those meant until I, surrounded myself with community and people using those terms, and it allowed me to self-identify a lot of my own traits as a result. But definitely resonate with the alien. I think that's partly why I also really feel comfortable with Fae pronouns. I know somebody was asking that earlier. So yeah, let me talk about Fae pronouns. Fae pronouns are neo-pronouns. They are kind of gender non-binary pronouns, but the reason that I consider myself a Fae, it has a lot to do with playing D&D and recognizing when I played a Fae character that, wow, a lot of them don't understand the customs and social cues from the the world, because they're from a whole different plane of existence. They're from the Feywild, and a lot of them, I don't know if y'all deal with this, but a lot of the times people think I'm flirting with them when I'm just trying to mask and be attentive and present and seem interested in a topic. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm just doing my job. It happened literally this weekend. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to, okay. So yeah, like between that and also just kind of not feeling part of this world, that's where the Fae pronouns kind of stemmed for me, as I feel very much so like part of a different world, because I don't understand a lot of the social cues and customs, and it could be really hard to know when someone has positive or genuine intentions, and I am very naive and gullible. So yeah, if anyone wanted to know about Fae pronouns, that's about those. If anybody else has any questions, I see I do feel tired from work a lot. Yeah, if you deal with a lot of customers and you're like masking a lot, I can definitely see that might be exhausting. I feel like a silly little creature stuck in a human cosplay. Exactly. Like Mimikyu, right? The Pokemon Mimikyu. I constantly worry how my facial expressions look, because I want to look interested but not like too expressive, but also what if I'm expressing enough interest via my face? Yeah, exactly. No, I know it could be really, really tough. There's a lot of
subject to bring up. We had someone earlier ask like, oh, why are there two pictured people? And we had friends kindly let them know that, in the Twitch world, you can show your face. You can be a PNG tuber. You can be a VTuber. You don't have to be anything. You can have no cam, no tuber. And the beautiful part of all of that is you have your part-time face cammers who also will use a VTuber or PNG tuber, and that's me. And I didn't mention that before, that there are every so often where I'm not 100%. I'm really well off to stream, but maybe I don't like feel presentable, right? So having a VTuber, having a PNG tuber or a VTuber allows you to maybe stay on schedule, maybe still fulfill your goals if you're working on something, and still hang out with your friends and community. So just a little tidbit, you know, if you're a little reluctant and you're like, I'm not sure, give it a go. And yes, it can be scary because maybe some people are like, oh, that's different for me. But I'll tell you this, your real friends and your real community are going to stick by you because they're there for you and not necessarily what you look like, right? So do what makes you feel comfortable, because then everyone else will actually have fun with you.
I feel like I needed to hear that so hard, because I'm constantly pushing myself to do face cam streams because I know it's what everyone's used to, but sometimes I really wish, I'm like, ooh, I would love to do a little PNG tuber stream, and like every time I do, I'm like, wow, this was great. This felt great, you know, because like you don't have to keep that smile on, and I know I don't have to smile 24/7, but like I don't want to have like the resting face, you know, like I don't want people to think that I'm like annoyed. Like, no, I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes I want to stim. Yeah.
There you go. If some of you needed to hear that, like I heard that 2 months ago, I was so nervous, and someone was like, boom, 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 there you go. And I was like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, I had a blast. I never regret going live with my VTuber. So there you go.
Junie and C, do you find that it helps you conserve more spoons by VTubing, you think?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Junie, if you'd like to answer more first, I can comment, but yes.
No, you don't have to.
You should go. I've been yapping a lot. If you want to say something, I can answer to you after.
Oh, goody. Yeah, I mean, I think some people have their different reasons for being VTubers or using PNG tubers in terms of things. So I think it's really an opportunity for folks to be creative. People have created immersive worlds with their characters. So if you're into like Dungeons and Dragons and original characters or fan fiction, like it really taps into that artistry and things. I know for me, I have no problem. My face is not necessarily a secret. I just prefer VTubing because it's a way for me to have my Lizzie McGuire moment, for anybody who remembers that TV show, where my VTuber is an expression of me and that cartoon version of myself. Because I grew up in the 90s and I just love animation and art and everything. So I like being a VTuber in terms of things, but like sometimes I do pop out because I am a makeup artist as well. So I see my faces online because I do makeup looks and I do model every so often. So or at least take photography and have modeled for different things in the past. But all that is to say, like, VTubing is just really a form of self-expression. It's the extension of myself because my VTuber is me. She is her design, and how she looks is how I look in real life. So I always make it a gag on my streams where I'm like, my VTuber is me. So it's not a secret. So if you see how I look on streams, that's how I look in real life. But you can ask my community and friends. So I just think VTubing is a great way to like still stream, but not necessarily have some of the pressures of like being on camera, even though again I think being on camera, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's different ways to approach streaming that's great. So I tell folks, don't be intimidated, and there's lots of free resources for folks who to get started as well, where you don't have to spend a lot of money if that's something you'd like to pursue. So yeah. Just wanted to add some
you
thoughts.
convinced me. No, I always tell myself I'm gonna do it more, so I think making maybe like one dedicated every now and then would be nice to, you know, just have a little reset, right? Just a little reset as a treat. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as C. My face is not a secret, but it is so much easier to, like, I don't have to wear makeup. Not that I would have to, but you just never know. Like, sometimes I just want to not be presentable, and I have a hard time like masking my facial expressions. Like if somebody random comes in and they say like an off-color comment, like you could tell on my face, like, you know, and having a
Mood.
VTuber kind of makes it more comfortable. Or like, I don't have to smile. And there's just so many ways to be creative. Like, I have body pillow toggles, so I can like switch out different characters on them. And, you know, it's like a great conversation starter. I was the type of kid at school, like, I didn't like talking to people first, but if I had like a keychain of my favorite anime, because anime was not cool back then, guys. Like, we got bullied for Naruto running around. So having, you know, having a keychain out and having somebody be like, oh, you like this anime? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. How did you know? Oh, it's my keychain. You know? So there's just like there's so many ways to be creative with it. And it's I see it more as a medium. So I'm not exclusively like I'm only gonna associate with other VTubers. Like I'm down to befriend any type of creators. Like girl, if you just like Final Fantasy, like we're friends for life, and that's it. You know.
Let's go.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And it's art. Like, I love to see all the different designs, and like you said, it's becoming even more accessible. Right? There's a lot of free and really affordable resources these days, and even if you just want to start as a PNG, I think it's amazing. I need to do more of it. I'd love to like close out on where chat can find you next. Like, what's your stream schedule? Do you have any upcoming events this month in April that you're going to be hosting and doing? So like, where can chat find you after this? Does anyone want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily have many special events going on. I feel like that was all actually this past weekend, but I'm currently streaming Dragon Quest 11 for the first time and Link to the Past for the first time. We're very chat and community oriented. I will be going to FanFest for Final Fantasy 14 in Anaheim, and I will be giving out stickers of my characters. So if you see me around, well, you'll have to follow me on other social medias to know what I look like. But if you see me around, if you see me around, feel free to say hi. If I have the spoons, I will try to converse. But again, don't take it personally if I'm like, I'm hungry and I'm on the verge of like having a sensory meltdown because being in crowds. I'm not 16 like when I used to go to anime conventions. Like now I'm 30 and I get tired. So, but I hope to see people there. But yeah, I'm a big JRPG fan, and we love meeting all kinds of people. So yeah, and I also have a YouTube channel and I post videos there sometimes. So go check it out. I just released a video over the weekend of why Aqua from Kingdom Hearts is great femme representation.
Oh, I know
so
someone in
let's
chat
go Women's
that loves
History
that
Month.
video. Danny.
Kingdom Hearts. Oh my god, I'm so
Yes.
excited.
Yes, Kingdom Hearts mentioned. We love Kingdom Hearts here. Amazing. I can't. First of all, so happy that you're getting a chance to go to that. You're gonna have so much fun. I can't wait to see all of the pictures. Anaheim is a great convention center, so have fun with that. Everyone go check out Junie. I adore her. All right, who would like to go next? C, Sweet, either of you?
I'm gonna pass the baton to Sweet. How about you go
Okay.
next, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Where to find me? Twitch? Weekends for sure. Oh gosh, I'm a dog nanny, everyone. My schedule's never the same, so super sorry about the weekdays being never set. I've for like a year been like, I'm trying, but definitely weekends now for sure. You can find me on Blue Sky. Oh my goodness. I say that now. If you're following along the news of Blue Sky, my goodness, we'll see what happens. But it was good. Like right up until like a month ago, it was so good. YouTube. So I'm almost got all my VODs up and loaded because I'm gonna have new content on my YouTube. Let's talk about accessibility with games real quick. If games are not automatically coming out with windowed capability settings, they're not thinking of everyone. Let me just say. So I'm gonna make it a whole thing that these gaming indie devs keep sending me keys, which is so nice. I can't cover them on my Twitch channel if they're not windowed capable. So I'm gonna switch that into some YouTube content and still review some cute cozy games. But what else? Gonna be getting back into cosplay on my Instagram. Yeah, and the guilds, Women's Guild, Latin's Guild, Pride Guild, Creator Clubs. Little shouty to those spaces as well. If you see me
And
in
Black
there,
Guild too.
or yeah, if you just want to say hi to me in there, the channels I really try to focus on are the wins. I'm always in those channels. I'm trying to find out your wins, and I want to give you a congratulations. So,
You really
yeah, that's where you
do.
can
I
find me.
do see that. That's so
Yeah.
sweet of you.
I wish I had more time for so many other things, but I want to
No,
see
that's
your
lovely.
milestones and your mountains climbed, and I want to see your next chapters. So,
Aw. Likewise. That's so sweet. C, are you ready? Would you like to go next?
Yeah. So, what am I up to? So, for me right now, gaming wise, I'm currently finished through Final Fantasy 14. I'm in post Endwalker, trying to get to Dawntrail before FanFest. But I'm currently playing Final Fantasy, Monster Hunter Stories 3, and a lot of Monster Hunter in general. As well as there's a couple of games that I'll be playing next week. I can't talk about them, but when you do see me around, I'll be excited to talk about them because it's exciting. I love when I get keys for games I do enjoy. But we're playing a lot of similar to Junie. I also play a lot of RPGs and things like that as well. And I know I'll be doing some co-working in stationary streams and also doing some lace projects for the next couple of
Ooh.
months because there is like a international lace conference that I am a part of an organization that supports that happening later this summer. I won't be attending, but I'll be supporting activities and learning stuff. So hopefully it'll be a great time. And in regards to events, my birthday stream's actually coming up in 2 weeks. So, birthday's coming up.
Happy
April 12th.
birthday!
so
Thank
it's
you.
weeks. We all know where we're going to be, right? Right, everyone? Everyone here?
Party of
Yeah.
C's.
Whoa!
So I'll be running probably some raids in 14 and maybe doing some repo with folks. But if you'd like to stop by and say hi, I'll be turning 33. So I'm just gonna hype it up on stream and have some fun. But other than that, like folks said, you can find me in some of the guilds, the women in the Black Guild. I'm actually a mentor, so if you're in the Black Twitch Guild, don't be a stranger. I'm always lurking around somewhere and just having fun. But that's what I'm gonna be up to, along with I'm in a month-long Mario Party tournament, so I'll be in a different VTuber form. I'll look like a Paper Mario character if you're into that as well. So.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. Good luck with that. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Everybody go follow C, go follow Sweet, follow Junie. They are amazing and incredible individuals. They inspire me so much, all in their own ways. And I'm just so honored and thankful that they joined me today. To close out, I will probably be streaming on Friday next. I'm going to talk about how PAX East was because I just did that and it was a lot of fun and I have a lot to share from that. But yeah, we cover a lot of cozy games on my stream. We love the Wholesome Games Direct. We love Nintendo and Pokemon, Dungeons and Dragons, and art. And when Papa Quartz isn't around, we love tarot. But thank you so much for being here, everyone. I really appreciate it. I know that we only had the hour originally and we went a little over, so thank you for sharing some extra spoons with us.
I'm gonna have to interject.
What?
Everyone here in Quartsy stream, can we? She's like, don't do it. Can we get a big round of applause, big hugs, just all the love to Quartsy? Let's go.
No.
Thank you so much, sweetie. Thank you for
You did
inviting
so
us.
great, Quartsy.
I was
Yeah.
like,
So
no. We're
nervous.
going to. Thank you so much because this was your project. You were brainstorming this. You were like, I would love for people to join me in on this, and you're making this happen. So thank you for giving us a spotlight, but also thank you for advocating for women with disabilities, advocating for femme and other people within our marginalized communities with disabilities and chronic illnesses in the gaming and Twitch realm. So thank you, Quartsy. Look at all this hype. You all are amazing. Quartsy deserves it. We're just rightfully
Exactly.
moving up in Twitch, and I'm so glad that you're
Yes.
seeing everything you have to offer. So you're amazing, and thank you for everything you do for us. Sorry, I talk so much.
No,
No.
never
No, not at at all.
apologize. This
It's
has
such an
been
honor to
delightful.
have worked alongside you ladies in the Fae. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so glad we had this opportunity. Thank you, Quartsy, for having us. Thank you guys in chat for being here and listening and sharing your perspectives.
Oh, no, you all. Thank you so much for taking time. Like, it was so amazing to hear everyone's perspectives, and I really do think that we all had a lot of unique perspectives to share, so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I had so much fun chatting with you all today. Everyone, please go follow these amazing panelists and thank them for taking time out of their day to be here with me. Please go support them on their socials as well. I think pretty much everyone has the same username across socials, so or check the Twitch bio if you want to find us on other platforms. Thank you so much for being here. Stay hydrated, stay fueled up, go recharge those spoons, and until next time, Quartsy and Junie and C and Sweet, we're all blasting off again, so thank you. All right, take care, y'all. Bye-bye.